Oh, that's beautiful. Mr. King, my next question is this. You are experienced in these matters. You have first-hand knowledge in how the banking system works, how government regulations impact on this around the world. Let's look at it from the human perspective. Before the cognitive revolution and after it, when humans started living in communities, people fended for themselves. They were gatherers and they were hunters. But that's not the case. We live in communities today. Some people are jobless. Some people don't have mates. And obviously, a lot of these people don't have bank accounts. Even in Western societies, they are alienated from the process of social production physically and the benefits. And they are treated, I feel, perhaps not so right. It's like being branded a failure and a criminal. In your book, Technology and Socialism...
The Rise of Technosocialism.
This
is the book I'm writing right now.
Oh yes, it's not out yet. Perhaps you would address some of the issues.
Well, so the biggest problem the world has right now on a trend basis is growing inequality. And so the banking system actually reinforces that. You know, if you've got money, it's easier to make money, right? And financial exclusion has led to people not having access to credit, for example. If you don't have a traditional bank account, you can't get credit, you can't grow your business, and so you're stuck with organic growth. So these are two examples of the system where that financial inequality is sort of reinforced in the system today. So this is the first thing we have to fix. And artificial intelligence and robotics and automation has the potential to make that much worse, because we could automate all of these jobs that are human processes. You know, if we have delivery robots delivering your pizza and groceries and things like that, what happens to those people that previously did that work? Same with factory workers and same with taxi drivers, you know, truck drivers. In the US, there's 2 million transcontinental truck drivers that drive from east-west United States that will probably lose their jobs in the next 10 years with autonomous vehicles. You know? So this is a real challenge that at a society level we have to attack. Now, you talked about regulation. There's very few regulators that are geared towards financial inclusion, let alone trying to close the wealth gap, you know, between the rich and the poor. And so this needs to be done at a policy level. It needs to be some incentive for creating more equal societies. Now, if you look throughout history, the most effective economies in history actually have very good bell-shaped distribution curve of wealth, right? And that is, like, for example, after the Second World War in the United States, probably the most productive economy history has ever seen, 1950s, 1960s, 1970s, but it was based on the American dream. And the American dream was a strong, robust middle class. Now, what has happened, you know, that strong, robust middle class, you could look at it like a diamond shape, you know, where the wealth flows across. But over time, due to policies, they've flattened it back out to more a pyramid shape. So the 1% gets a lot of the wealth, and the wealth flows uphill. And this is the model that we've seen most in history, socio-political governance models. More feudal systems where the 1% owns all the assets and they get the wealth flowing up. But the most productive economies look like this, diamond-shaped. And so China is going from this pyramid shape to more a diamond-shaped economy as the middle class becomes more affluent. And that's one of the reasons why the Chinese economy is going to beat the US economy over the next 20 to 30 years as the number one economy in the world, because economies depend on consumption. And when you have the rich getting richer, they accumulate assets, but they don't spend money. And so if the money's not getting injected into the marketplace, then you're not creating more jobs. So the more consumption that occurs, the more employment and the more wealth distribution occurs. So this is what we have to sort of try and create from a policy or regulatory perspective that we don't really have today. I'm hopeful that with the changes that we're seeing in climate change, combined with things like social media and more transparency in terms of messaging now, and the potential that AI has for disrupting employment, I'm that with the changes that we're seeing in climate change, combined with things like social media and more transparency in terms of messaging now, and the potential that AI has for disrupting employment, I'm hopeful we'll have a grown-up conversation about this and really start to think about ways to create better equality for the citizens of the world.
Is this an insight into the book you're writing?
Correct. Absolutely.
What informed your proposed title? What informed it? Strong.
Technosocialism. Socialism is sort of a dirty word in some countries. In the US right now, it's like saying you're a communist if you're a socialist. And yet, if you look at the problem we've got is that the top 5 companies in the US right now are technology companies, and 4 out of 5 in China are technology companies. And so around the world, you get more and more of these trillion-dollar technology companies. Huawei, Apple, Apple already mentioned, Amazon. These are all trillion-dollar companies. And Apple has hundreds of billions of dollars cash reserves. Right? And so as these technologies become more and more a part of society and automate, automated value chains, automated transportation systems, this technology is more and more profitable, and so these companies will grow bigger and stronger and more with lots more cash. What they won't do is they won't create jobs like the old economies used to, because supply and demand curve, Adam Smith, Economics 101, the principle was as demand increases, you would increase supply through labor participation to meet that demand. But you don't need labor participation to increase supply in an AI world or a technology-based world because it's software. Right? You just need more processing cycles. And so that's really the challenge that we're moving into. We'll have these technology companies capturing more and more wealth, more and more cash, but at the same time potentially destroying employment. And while AI will create new jobs, I don't think it's going to create jobs at the same rate it destroys them. And so then you have technology-based unemployment that you have to deal with. And so this forces you to implement more socialist types of policies. So this was the thinking, How do I mitigate the risks to the population at large with implementing artificial intelligence where it creates large-scale unemployment? What do? I create job programs to rebuild infrastructure. I create job programs related to climate change and geoengineering the planet. Maybe I have universal basic income in there for basic services, free healthcare, free education, So these are what we would call traditionally socialist policies, but in a world where technology enables you to deliver that type of support for citizens at very low cost, socialism shouldn't have the negative connotation that it has in the past, because the cost of providing more to people is lower because technology also enables you to do this. So.
Would you say this is what was missing in Marxism?
Marxism, yeah. Look, I think I've read a little bit of Marx in preparation for this book. I do think this is a very different. We're coming to this through a very different vehicle, which is disruption of employment, disruption of our ability to earn a living, and so. Sort of more, you've got Marxism is more about more equitable distribution, but technology, if we don't deal with it, has the potential really to create a lot more inequality. And so there's some synergies here, but I do think, as a futurist and as an optimist, I do think technology can provide a lot of the answers. But for example, if you're going to have an economy that's going to adapt to this future, you have to invest in different skills, investing in truck drivers and, factory workers. This is not going to get you there. You have to invest in STEM, science, technology, engineering, math, so that you've got the right skills moving forward. And if I was in the US right now, I'd be, instead of what they have in the education system, I'd be making technology courses free for everyone. Making it broadly accessible and getting everyone to code, and because that's how you build an economy that's robust and can survive this transition. If you're doubling down on coal, and the old industries, that just puts off the problem.
Now, talking about the education system, to be literate now means to be one who is able to read and write alphabets, numbers as we know them. It seems there is another skill required, which is algorithms, how to write codes and all that. Where does the average man come in? We were not taught this in schools. In the schools we attended, are we not, a significant number of people in this world now, would you say they are prepared, they are equipped for the future ambition?
Look, I do think there are definitely opportunities to reskill people and get them more technology capable, but at the same time, we're developing computing systems that don't require a high level of technical competency. When I learned to program in school, I actually learned on this punch card system where you would get a pen and mark on the paper and stack up these cards, And then my first computer I bought at home was a Commodore VIC-20, and it had 3.5K of RAM with a 16K expansion pack. And so that was how you taught yourself to program in those days. You had to have a high level of competency to be able to use those systems. Today, a baby can pick up an iPad and play with it, and now we're starting to talk to our computers like Alexa, and in the future you'll have spatial computing devices or mixed reality, augmented reality, integrated into the environment around you. So technology is getting easier to use. I think the difference here is around your mindset as to how you see yourself fitting in this world in the future. Do you see that this technology will put you outside of this future world? Or do you see this as an opportunity for you to sort of reinvent yourself in this world of the future? And that's sort of the difference I would say. I think if you look historically at all of these major technologies we've had over the last 300 years, even going back to the printing press or the steam engine or the automobile or the production line, the telephone, internet. When you've looked at these technologies, we seem to have the same cycle where when it first comes along we say, no, I'm never going to use that, or no, that's bad for society, as if we have a choice, right? And yet we've never stopped these major technologies from advancing and changing society. So I think the realization that when you start talking about artificial intelligence, and when we're talking about it like, should we or shouldn't we have AI, the reality is the capital markets, the way we consume technology, all of that is pushing us so that we will absolutely have artificial intelligence. So rather than debating should we or shouldn't we have AI, we should be thinking about how we integrate AI into society and how we prepare society for that. Because in 250 years, the amount of times that we've successfully stopped a technology from AI disrupting industry is 0.